Welcome to Different Church's online service. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on podcast, we are so excited that you're here with us today. My name is Olivia. I'm one of the worship leaders with Different Music Group. But before we hop into the message, there's a couple of different ways that you can get more connected. So if you're interested in being more a part or you would like to give, you can head over to our website, dfrnt.church. And all of our information is going to be on there for you to see. Also, whatever your favorite social media platform is, you should follow us on there. We are in our series Barz, where we look at some of the most popular verses in the Bible. And we want to see, do we just know the Bible, or are we actually living the Bible? So, enough from me. Let's hop into the message.
Church, how are we feeling this morning? Everybody in house? Okay. Hey, everybody online, I don't know where you're watching from, how you got here. Maybe you're listening on the way to work. I have no idea, man. I just want to say thank you so much for just growing with us, right? Like every single time I come to church, I kind of treat it like the gym. Like, am I going to lift today? Am I going to work out today? Am I going to grow today? Every time I worship in the car, whatever I'm doing, like those are moments where I get to grow. Those are moments where I spend time going, okay, I'm gonna give God 20 minutes today. I'm gonna give God 30 minutes today. And if you're really crazy, I remember this one dude, he tithed, if I tithe 10% of my money, why don't I tithe 10% of my time? And so for 2 hours and 40 minutes, he'd read the word, he'd pray. Dude, what? Like after 2 hours of doing anything, I'm ready to go to sleep, eat a bunch of food. Like I can't, and he would do it, man. That's crazy. But I just want to say thank you so much for growing with us today, wherever you're watching from. We are in the last part. Listen, we have been in Barz for like 8 years, right? This is the last part of our series, Barz. And if maybe you're watching for the first time, or maybe this is your first time here, we have been walking through just the Bible, right? Isn't that crazy? Like whenever people do a series, they'll be like, oh, this is about relationships. And then they'll like just sprinkle like a verse about relationships in a series about relationships. This has been all about, do I understand the word? I've been hearing the word my whole life. Right? I woke up, bro, I was born like with a Christian tattoo. It's crazy. Like I was born with this stuff. You're born in the Bible Belt. Like you know every passage because it gets quoted to you right whenever you mess up. I remember I used to think, my grandma used to say, you lie, you fry. I thought that was in the Bible. Just how it said, you lie, you fry. I just assumed that was in there because my grandma said it all the time. I've heard it my whole life. Have I lived it my whole life? Those are very different things. Hearing something and living something are very, very, very different things. But we were given the Bible in Romans, and I know this is going to make me sound super smart. In Romans 15, verse 4, it says that you were given the word for instruction. This book is to help you. It is not to hinder you. It is not to harm you. It may hurt sometimes when you read a verse, you go, oh man, I don't like that one. I don't like this one or this one or this one. We said it before. Thomas Jefferson has a version of the Bible. He made his own version of the Bible where he took out all the miracles because he didn't believe in them. You can go get it wherever it's like the Thomas Jefferson version of the Bible. We can really like read the ones we like, read the ones we don't like, all of that stuff. I've just wanted to go to some really big ones, some really popular ones and go, I've heard this my whole life. Have I lived this my whole life? Do I really understand what the word says? Because the Bible is given to help us, to help me, and I don't know it good enough. You ever been to an escape room? Right? So I am not smart enough to go into escape rooms. I've been in a couple and they just let me out at the end of it. I'm not good at them at all. But you go in an escape room and there are people that watch from outside the escape room. They watch how you're doing, and if you need help, what happens? They'll see you whether there's a button there or they'll see that you're hurting. You can flag down and you can say, hey, I'm stuck. And what will they do? They won't show you the whole answer. They'll give you a clue to get to the next answer. They'll give you just enough not to rob the experience of the breaking out, but they'll give you enough so that you have the tools capable to get you through through what you're going through right now. When you read the Word, when you're going through something that you don't fully understand, God has given us the Bible not to answer everything that we could ever go through. He's giving us just enough to where we can explore more and more of the trial that I'm walking through, the harm that I'm walking through, the brokenness that I'm walking through, where we can run to Him and go, I can't get out of this, and He's given us something to guide us to our next step. But when we don't run through this Word, like if you put me in an escape room with nobody watching me and helping me, I'd still be in there right now, and we did it like 7 years ago. I would never get out. I would just sit down. I would be miserable. But God has given us this outlet. He has given us this way where He reveals Himself, where He speaks to us, where He gives us not everything, the next thing. And we want God to give us everything. We don't want God to give us the next thing. Why? Because that takes work. I've still got to pray. I've still got to read. I've still got to worship. And God's like, bro, I'm more concerned about you discovering who you are in me. I want to see how smart, this is good. He doesn't want to see how smart you are. He wants you to see how smart you are. He wants you to see how talented you are. He wants you to see how gifted you are. And if He gave you all the answers, you would never find that out about yourself. You would just say, oh, God did this. No, God did this through you, through the gifts He gave you. And if He took you out of every trial and never made you go through anything, you wouldn't know how strong you were, would you? And you are a lot stronger than you said you were a long time ago, aren't you? It's the Word. It's the Word. So we want that. Next week, we start a series. Next week, we start a series online. We start a series that's called, Where the Hell Am I Going? Because sometimes you just got to cuss a little bit to find out where you're going. You ever been driving down in the woods or something? You're driving and all you see are the things in front, like the light. All you see is the next step. And you're like, I don't know if there's a cliff on the other side of this. You look at your spouse and you go, where the hell are we going? I think in my spiritual life, I feel like that a lot. Where am I going? Our biggest enemy is not the devil. Our biggest enemy is not our boss. Our biggest enemy is not our spouse. Our biggest enemy is not our finances. Our biggest enemy is none of that. Our biggest enemy is our own vision, being able to see what God has spoken to us. If I know where I'm going, it doesn't matter what anyone else says. But most oftentimes, I don't know where I'm going. You ask me, what are you doing today? Breathing. What else? Eating. What else? I don't know. Like outside of that, I have no idea. Vision. Vision, vision, vision. But you know how I know when I lack vision? When I critique others' visions more than cultivate my own vision. I'm really good at spending your money. I'm not very good at spending my money. I'm really good at your marriage. I'm not very good at my marriage. I'm good at your parenting. I'm not very good at my parenting. The moment I critique others' visions more than cultivate my own, that is when I lack vision. And the Word says, where there is no vision, people what? Die. Vision is so big. And when we lack it, it says that we die. Our marriage dies, our finances die, everything. I'm not trying to preach the whole thing. I'm just saying next week we start a series called Where the Hell Am I Going? And I am excited for it. But let's hop into the Word, okay? So I grew up in the South. Like I said, online, I don't know if this is somewhere else. Like I grew up in the South. I didn't grow up on the West Coast, North, whatever. I didn't do that, so I don't know if it was the same. Everyone knows Bible scriptures in the South. Everyone does. Everyone can quote a million times. I've seen people like smoking crack reading the Bible, dude. I'm telling you, I've seen some crazy. Everyone knows Bible verses. And I remember the most famous one that I heard growing up. I didn't grow up in church, anything like that. My grandma used to say, "Wait on the Lord." That was her answer for everything. Hey, Grandma, this happened. Just wait. Wait on the Lord. This girl broke up with me. Should have waited on the Lord. This happened. Wait on the Lord. They said, no, I didn't get the job. Wait on the Lord. I got so tired of waiting on the Lord. Like that was all I heard my entire life. So when I became a Christian at 18 years old and I heard wait on the Lord, I said, is that all y'all Christians do? Just sit here and wait? Little did I know that there was power in waiting. I didn't know how to wait. I knew how to waste. I didn't know how to wait. You can waste your time and not wait on God's time. God did not tell you to wait. God did not tell you to waste. He said, hey, wait on me. Wait on what I'm doing. That doesn't say just sit there and be miserable. He said, hey, I need you to wait on me. There's power in waiting. God's doing something in the waiting. I didn't know that though. I'm telling you, whenever I grew up, I just thought literally you sit down and you wait for heaven to happen. And I remember my grandma, if something bad was happening, she's like, oh, I'm just waiting on heaven to come. Like, yes, we are waiting on heaven, but there's so much more God's asked me to do. I'm actually busy in my waiting. When God says wait on the Lord, he's giving us something to do in the midst of the waiting. When he says wait, he doesn't say sit, he says serve. When he says wait, he's not saying, hey, I want you to just relax. He says, no, I want you to read. All of this stuff goes into waiting, but we've wasted so many seasons waiting on the Lord. And God's like, no, bro, I've got something for you. What if there was something he was trying to do in the midst of my waiting? In the midst of what I'm going through? What if there was power in waiting? What if you could become better in waiting? What if you're not getting better after you're done waiting? What if right now you become better than you ever have before? And I started thinking, I was like, man, when do I hate to wait? And God really smacked me in the face this week. What if God sent the traffic so you could spend more time listening to worship? What if God hasn't given you the promotion because he knows you'd stop praying the moment your money got right? What if God hasn't sent the spouse yet because he knows you'd stop working on you the moment he sent the spouse? Just because God's been silent doesn't mean God's not working. He knows what's going on, and we go, oh, this traffic, man, is killing me. What if you just needed to listen to another song? What if your breakthrough was in the midst of traffic? What if he hasn't sent you the spouse yet because you've still got something going on, and he's like, I know you're going to ditch you the moment they come in. Let's not do that. Man, I need more money, but you'll stop praying when I give you more money. I need your heart to get right in this season before I get you into the next season. So can we run to the Word? Psalms 27 is where we're going to be at. One verse, man, one verse. And if you've been with us, I have no idea, man. Online, I apologize in advance. I haven't worked with the DJ in the back this morning, so I have no idea what he's got for us. But you know how we're in a series called Barz, okay? And so whenever like a rapper says something really dope, they're like, da-na-na-na, like horns go off and stuff like that. In the Bible, most songs that you hear are inspired by the Word. It's either in Psalms or somewhere else. And so why not, whenever we read the Word, can we make some noise for the Word? But this is it. It's one verse is going to be on the screen. You can play karaoke with us. What does it say? Wait patiently for the Lord. DJ?
Wait a minute.
Okay. I'm sorry, got online. I'm sorry. I already told you I have no idea what's about to happen. It says, wait patiently for the Lord. And what does it say after that? Be brave and courageous.
Got him.
He says it one more time. Yes, wait patiently on the Lord.
Perfect.
Verse 14, look at what it says. Psalms 27, verse 14 is one verse. I think it tells us a bunch. I never heard the sentence after wait patiently on the Lord. And really, listen, I never heard the word patient. I heard wait on the Lord. I never heard wait patiently on the Lord. And then he says, he gives you a command in the midst of your waiting, patiently be brave and courageous. Those are action words. Those aren't, hey, those are things to do. I'm busy. Those are things to do. But look at this. What does it say right at the beginning? Verse 14, wait patiently for the Lord. And can I teach for a second? Those two words, wait and patient, they don't have the same meaning. We think they have the same meaning. They don't have the same meaning. Wait talks about the amount of time. Patience talks about the spirit I have in the midst of waiting in the time. We think if I know how to wait, I am patient. That's not true. Because I can wait bitterly. I can get angry while I wait. I can get mad while I wait. You ever been to the DMV? I can get demonic while I wait. Just because I wait doesn't mean I'm patient. And patience is what? A fruit of the Spirit. The Holy Spirit is revealed in the midst of my waiting, not because I know how to wait, but because I know how to be patient. And a lot of us, we just think if I just sit here long enough, I look godly. That is not true. You haven't learned patience. You've learned how to wait. You've learned how to check the clock. You remember when you were in school and you would watch the clock in the top corner of your classroom and it seemed like time never moved, the clock never moved. The longer you wait on the time, the longer it seems like it takes. But when you took your eyes off the clock, what happened? It seemed like time sped up. The moment your spirit changed and I'm not watching time, I'm trying to be busy in the midst of this time, stuff began to happen. When you're watching God try to move, you're saying, God, when are you going to move? When are you going to move? When are you going to move? And you watch it and watch it and watch it. It takes forever. But the moment you shift your perspective off of, I've got to see God move, to I need to move in the midst of waiting on God move, it seems to go a lot faster. One is waiting, the other is patience. I'm good at waiting, I'm not good at patience. And waiting and patience do not mean the same thing. Whoever lied to you and said, wait on the Lord, no, be patient on the Lord. How's your spirit in the midst of your waiting? You've been waiting on God to speak. How's your spirit right now? Are you very patient? Or have you gotten bitter? Have you gotten lonely? Have you gotten angry? Have you gotten frustrated? He says, hey, waiting's easy. Everyone can wait. I will make you wait. God forces us to wait. He doesn't force us to be patient. I can't change when God moves. I can change my spirit while I'm waiting in the midst of me waiting to see God move. A lot of us have just waited. We've sat on our hands and we've waited, haven't we? Just going, God, when you do it, God, I'm going to see you do it. God, when you move in my family. God, when you move in these finances. And he's like, bro, you're not even working on your spirit. You just want me to bail your flesh out, and you never work on your spirit in the midst of me holding your flesh captive in this season, because something internal needs to happen before something external can happen. But God, get me. The world doesn't need more bitter Christians. The world doesn't need more angry Christians. The world doesn't need more critical Christians. It needs more hopeful Christians. Christians that are going to say, hey, I can't see it, but I know he's moving. I can't feel it, but I know he's moving. Why? Because I know that God's good, even if nothing else is good. I know that he's good. That's how you'll know. Well, you want me to tell you if you're spiritual or not? I can tell you right now. You want to know how Tyler's spiritual? Online. You want to know how you're spiritual? How do you act when someone tells you no? Not how many Bible verses have you read, not how long does K-Love play in your car. How does your spirit react when somebody says no? When God says no? When man says no? How do you react? You hate it, don't you? In the midst of rejection, you never look more spiritual. Jesus' entire life was what? Filled with one thing, rejection. If Jesus was most glorified in his rejection, am I not most glorified in my rejection? But it's easy to run away from rejection, to go, oh man, they don't understand. They don't know what I've been through. No. What if man's rejection was God's misdirection? What if God was just, hey, this isn't going to work out. Let's move you over here. And you know what's more dangerous than rejection? What's more dangerous than man's rejection is man's acceptance. Acceptance is one of the most dangerous things you can walk. And you've never heard this before. I had never heard this before. It is more dangerous than any drug you can take. It is more dangerous than anything else, you seeking after man's acceptance, because there will be a moment where you will be accepted. And you'll be accepted again and again and again and again. And then 5 years later, you wake up and you have no idea who you are. All because you went through every open door that was possible. Not every door that is open is for you. A lot of times, God just needs you to wait in that hallway until the door opens up. Because in the midst of that hallway, guess what? You can meet someone else waiting in that hallway. But how many open doors have I ran through that weren't for me? Man's acceptance is dangerous. You know how many people will say, hey, God told me not to date, but the moment somebody said, hey, you want to go out? Oh, yes, you're saying yes to me? Of course, God's been saying no to dating, but I'm going to say yes to you right now because I've been lonely for a minute. I'll say yes to you. And then you give that person your mind, body, and soul. You give them everything for acceptance. When God says, no, I need you, it felt like rejection from God. It wasn't rejection from God. It was misdirection from God, because he knew you were going to give everything to somebody that wasn't willing to give you everything. And Jesus gave you everything. Therefore, that's why he asked you to give him everything. But in the midst of acceptance, in the midst of man's acceptance, when you feel like you've been rejected by God, the things that are on your heart have been rejected by God. No, he is not rejecting you. He is redirecting you to what he has for you. we have to be okay with rejection. We have to. We are seen most, that is the moment people see is, man, in the midst of rejection, they still pray, they still read, they still worship, they still go to church in the midst of all this. Yeah, because I know that God's doing something. Now, we haven't said much about this, and we're still working on all this, but recently we were approached about doing a book deal with some publishers and stuff, and so they had this book idea they wanted me to do, or I had this book idea they wanted me to do, and we go to, and we pitch it to like 7 or 8 publishers, okay? And some of them are looking at it, all that stuff, and we did that a couple weeks ago, and last week, I got my first rejection email back from a publisher. And, you know, no one ever talks about the rejection emails, right? You would just see me post, oh, I've got a book coming out. But I've actually gotten like 4 rejection emails going up to that. And the moment I read the first rejection email, I remember like being mad, a little insecure, like was my book not good, better than other people's book? Like why did they do it? Like all these things. I started making up excuses. Oh, they don't understand. They can't see it. And I started kind of like getting mad because they rejected me. Because their email was super sweet. You know, I mean, hey, you know, we love the idea. It's just not a fit for us. And bro, I dated in middle school. Like I know what rejection feels like, right? Like I've been told like, oh, you're cute, but nah, not for me. And so I really like, I started feeling, so I sat down and I'm looking at the rejection email and then I felt like the Holy Spirit like just nudged me and said, hey, I didn't need you to fit in there. I need you to stand out somewhere else. And they were going to ask you to fit into what they had always done rather than stand out and be the person I've asked you to be. And so then the moment, like I got that check in my spirit, like, man, God's got something new. God's got something better. I don't need man's acceptance. I've got God's acceptance. The moment I texted the agent and I said, hey, go ahead. We're going to Photoshop all of these rejection emails and make them the cover of the book. Like I'm ready for it. Like all this. The moment I felt man's rejection, it wrecked me. But man's acceptance cannot trump God's acceptance in my life. Therefore, I can't look for that more than I look for this over here. I can't. And the moment we get scared of rejection is the moment we stop walking in faith. And faith is the only thing that pleases God. In Hebrews, that's what it says. Faith is the only thing that pleases God. And the moment rejection hits, we will stop having faith because, well, if they don't like it, nobody will like it. If they don't like it, I can't do this. But it doesn't just say, wait patiently for the Lord. It also tells you what to do. Do we have the scripture still up? Look at this. Verse 14. Psalms 27, verse 14. Wait patiently. How's your spirit right now? Wait patiently for the Lord. Well, what do I do while I'm patient and waiting? I think just trying to be patient takes up enough of my time and my waiting. You know how hard it is to be patient? But he says, on top of being patient, I want you to be brave and I want you to be courageous. So what does that mean? Do I go buy some armor? I wear armor all day long to be brave, hold a sword up, look like a knight or something? No. He said, hey, I still want you to pray the same things you've been praying for. I still want you to be brave with your finances even though you haven't seen the outcome you've wanted to have. I still want you to be courageous and share the gospel with the family you're still waiting on a breakthrough for. I still want you to be able to read. I still want you to find out the identity you have, who I've spoken you to be. I'm still waiting on you to do that. There is so much to do while you're waiting. He didn't tell you to stop anything. He just told you, hey, I'm busy right now. I'm about to get to you. I'm busy right now. I need you to keep doing what you've been doing. And that's harder than anything else. To do it when your heart doesn't feel like it's in it. But that's when the breakthrough happens. That's when it happens, when I don't feel it and I just do it. Because I know, one, I don't do it to get something. I do it because God's worthy of me doing it. I don't care what anyone says. I'm in a different season. I'm with whatever. I don't do it because I feel like doing it. I do it because Jesus died on the cross, and I'm sure he didn't feel like doing it when he did it for me. So the first thing, it glorifies God. That's it. And really, do I need to go any further? No. but I also know what I do in my waiting period determines what I get blessed with after my waiting period. We talked about it last week. We sow seeds. Everything I do sows a seed. And so, man, I stopped by online. You already know I've got something. Can I grab this real quick? Look at this. Thank you, Devin from Cheesecake Factory. He hooked me up with this. I haven't always preached. I used to wait tables. When I would wait on a table, do you think while I was waiting on their order, I just sat there and I watched them until they waited or until they ordered? No. What did I do? While they're waiting to order, what did I go do? Well, I'd go get them drinks. And then I'd come back. Oh, you still don't have the order? Well, I'd go get them some bread. I worked at an Italian restaurant. I'll go get you some bread. I'd go get them the bread. They still don't have the order. What would I do then? I'd go to other tables and see what other people needed in the midst of me waiting on the person to get their order. I was so busy waiting on the person. Why? I knew the things I did while waiting on them determined the tip I got or the blessing I got after they placed their order. The things I did while waiting on them to order were the things that determined how I was tipped at the end. When I'm waiting on God to show up, when I'm waiting on God to speak, when I'm waiting on God, I have so much to do. I do not just sit here at church, never leave the church and go, God, I'm not moving until you do something. No, there are people to serve outside of my church. I am still obedient to his word, even if I feel like he's been obedient to his word. I am still trusting of his word, even if I don't know if I can trust him with the future. Why? Because what I do now determines the blessing that comes out later. I am busy in my waiting. I do not waste my waiting. I do not just throw it around. Man, you want to know a customer service voice? I got the best customer service voice you've ever. I'm the nicest person while waiting. Christians are the most miserable people while waiting. When I used to wait tables, hey, can I help you? I'd have the worst day of my life. Girlfriend broke up with me, -$4 in the bank account, and I know they're about to take out $35 more because I hit that overdraft fee. Some of y'all don't know what I'm talking about, but some of you do. They're about to hit -$39 in my bank account, and what would I do in the midst of me showing up? Hey, can I help you? I would turn it on because I knew that they could bless me. I knew that they could do something for me. And I know so many Christians, we sit here, we're miserable, just waiting on the Lord. Don't take my parking spot. They better not play that song I don't like. They better turn that music down. What? What kind of waiting is that? I would get no tip at the end of the night if I waited like that. But for some reason, when it's at church, that's how we wait, isn't it? God is not glorified when we're miserable. God is glorified when the fruits of the Spirit show up when nothing else has shown up. That is why I wait. That is how I wait. Like I said, man, Devin, thank you so much. From Cheesecake Factory, man. He hooked me up. We had to sneak that tray out of there fast. Jordan, if you want to come up, we did. And hey, man, Jordan or Devin, if you're watching, man, we're praying for your daughter, dude. It was a really cool moment. What do I do when God hasn't shown up? What do I do in the midst of the waiting? What do I do in the midst of it all? What do I do? I think you already know. I already knew what I needed to do. Whenever I started really praying over this message, like, we want to stop a bunch of stuff before we start the thing that God has for our future. And God's like, well, no. Why would you stop it? It's doing something in you. It's growing you. I want to see you move. I want to see you be everything God's created you to be. Why would you stop? Well, God, the money's not right. I didn't ask you if the money was right. I asked you if your heart was right. But my marriage, I didn't ask you are you being the wife that you need to be? Are you being the husband you need to be? Because you just haven't shown up. It's not about God showing up. It's about me showing up. Me showing up. And I know it says wait patiently on the Lord, and I do believe this, but I also think God is waiting on us. I think we're stuck waiting on the Lord. He's waiting on us to be patient while waiting. And the moment we find that patience, the moment the fruits of the Spirit begin to reveal themselves, that's when God begins to show up, when I show up. when my spiritual life shows up, when my reading shows up, when my prayer life shows up, whenever I begin to worship, whenever I begin to fast, whenever I begin to be generous. And I think that when God's the quietest, our calling becomes the loudest. When I'm sick in my body and I still show up for somebody, it is louder that they've heard my calling louder than they ever have before. When I'm as broke as I've ever been, but I still show up and help somebody, my calling is brighter than it's ever been. Whenever I can't see the future, when they know my testimony, when they know my story, and I still show up, that's when I am the biggest I've ever been to them. When I feel the smallest, my calling becomes the greatest. I can't stop serving just because it seems like God is silent. I can't. Because that's the moment people really see Jesus. Before that, they saw you serving them. When you're broken down and doing it, that's when they see Jesus serving them. And that's the goal of serving, not for them to see me. The goal of me preaching is not for people to see me. The goal of me preaching is for people to see Jesus. The goal of my life, of our marriage, me and Ryan's marriage, the goal isn't to go on vacation. The goal is for our children and people around us to see Jesus. The vacations are just fun while we do it. That's it. Everything we do glorifies Jesus. And the moment I miss it because I'm waiting, I can't even say waiting, wasting. The moment no one sees it because I'm wasting so much time. That's the moment when they see me and not Jesus. So what does it say? Verse 14, wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. And you know how preachers will say, and for the people in the back, let me clear my throat. He says it again. Yes, wait patiently on the Lord for the people that didn't hear him. Why does he say it twice? Because I need to hear it twice. I didn't hear him the first time. You know how when you read something and it shows up more than a couple times, like in a chapter, you're like, okay, I read this chapter, but I didn't read this chapter. You know what I mean? Like you'll be reading, you're like, okay, I missed something. I'm really bad about knowing what the top says and the bottom says, and I just kind of like go blank in the middle. This is one of those things where it's like, hey, I need you to really hear this. I need you to really hear me. Hey, I need you to wait patiently. I need you to work on your spirit. I need you to wait patiently. And we don't do that. So I've got to ask you, God's asking me, and I think that this is how he ends Psalms 27. How's your heart? Right now, how's your heart? Online, how's your heart? You've been waiting for a long time. How's your heart? The money hasn't been good in a long time. How's your heart? You've been single for a long time. How's your heart? Your family has not been saved your entire life. How's your heart? Are you still pressing through and praying that God would do something? How's your heart? And I think that God spoke something over me. He said, when you wait bitterly, you become the thing you never thought you'd become. In the midst of your waiting angrily, you'll become the person you said you'd never become. You ever say something and you sound like your mom? You're like, dang, I shouldn't have said that. You sound like your dad, and you said you'd never sound like your dad. What brings it out in you? You being angry, you being mad, you being frustrated. You said you'd never be like that, but this pushed me to where when you're waiting, you'll become the thing you never said you'd become. If you don't check your heart daily, guard my heart daily, every day, saying, am I patient? How's my spirit? Not am I waiting, am I patient? How's my spirit? How's my spirit? Will you still be loud for Jesus when it feels like Jesus has been quiet for you? Will I still be loud? Will my praise will I still jump? Will I still worship? Will I still clap even when it feels like ain't nobody know what I'm going through right now? How's my heart? How's my heart in the waiting? I never heard that before. My grandma just told me wait. This is a lot more than wait. I got a lot to do right now. But I started thinking, what happens when God's quiet? Like, no one likes that. We always say, like, oh, man, God's moving. Every worship song. I've never heard a worship song go, God's not showing up. I've never heard that. But that's how my life feels. Never heard that song. It seems like everyone's encountering God but me. What do? God is quiet right now. Well, you don't sit down. When you were in school, when you were in a test, could you ask the teacher a question during the test? No, you couldn't. Why couldn't you? They wouldn't answer because they didn't love you? No. They didn't answer you because last month they equipped you for the thing you needed right now in the moment. They have given you everything you need for this test. They're just waiting for you to bring it out in this test. So they won't speak to you, not because they don't love you, but because they've already given you the tools. When God doesn't speak in the midst of a hard time, when God doesn't speak in the midst of the trial, it's not because he doesn't love you. It's because he knows something in your testimony, something in your past has equipped you to do the very thing you're called to do. You're stronger than you think you are. You're smarter than you think you are. But if he showed you the answer, you couldn't bring the answer out from what he's already done in your life. Teachers don't talk in the test. Why would God right now? He's given you all the tools. He brought you through it years ago. Why are you doubting him now? Because it's all about today. Today's bills have to be paid. I need to be married today. I need 1 million followers today. I need $1 million today. And it's like, okay, stop. Today's already almost over. It's already lunchtime, right? Today's halfway over. What have I done to glorify him? What have I done to push the kingdom forward? What have I done to make little of myself and much of Jesus? What is it? And so that's my prayer. Really, I just want us to check our hearts. We're waiting. You're waiting on a financial breakthrough. You're waiting on a marital breakthrough. You're waiting on your marriage to be healed. You're waiting on your body to feel better. You're waiting on something. You're waiting on your family to come to know Jesus. How's your heart in the midst of waiting? Because the enemy attacks you when you're lonely. The enemy attacks you when it's quiet. The enemy attacks you when you're isolated, when you're waiting. And if he can just nudge you, oh, they don't know. They don't know what's going on. Don't let the enemy attack you. What? You know God's brought you through this same thing years ago. Why are you doubting him today? Just because it's quiet. That's it. But just because something's quiet doesn't mean somebody's not working. If anything, and here's what I'll tell you, I'm a dad with 2 daughters that are young. When it's quiet, the most is happening. If you got kids, you know what I'm saying. When the house is quiet, I know the girls are working. When God is quiet, I got to know he is working. It may not be what I want right now, but he's doing something because I know it's for my good. I know he's working everything together for my good. Let me trust him. So I want to pray for you in your heart. And it's hard, but it's worth it. The rejection's worth it. Trust me, the rejection's worth it. The waiting's worth it. Check your heart. If anything, that's what God's doing. He's pruning your heart in this season. Saying, hey, if I gave it to you, you would stop crying out to me. I want you to just cry out to me. Lord, we love you. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you. And God, I am sorry when I have been bad at waiting. I am sorry when I haven't done everything you've created me to do. I am sorry. And God, I pray right now that you would begin to work in my heart. That in the midst of the waiting, in the midst of the loneliness, in the midst of the nobody understands, in the midst of all of that I would begin, there's something that you've already spoken into me would begin to come out in me because you have prepared me for this. You have called me for this. You are doing something in the midst of it. And God, I don't want to be who I said I would never be. I want to be who you've created me to be. And God, if there's someone in here that, man, it seems like God hasn't shown up in a long time, that they wouldn't grow weary in doing good, that they wouldn't stop reading your word, that they wouldn't stop praying, that they wouldn't stop worshiping, that they wouldn't stop praising, that they wouldn't stop, but if anything, they would go harder than they ever had before. They would press in more than they ever had before because they'll see you show up like you never have before. Lord, we love you. We love you. We love you. We love you. It's your name we pray, and everybody said, amen.
Not all those who wander are lost. The only thing worse than being blind is having sight with no vision. Vision is the art of seeing the invisible. Where the hell am I going?